far this year. The government is moving ahead under the guidance of the UN and the African Union and the IGAD. The transitional government that lasted 8 years has ended, and now there is a proper, legitimate and federal government in its place. And Somalia doesn't just have a new president, but also a new parliament chosen by representatives of all clans. The international community has kept the promises that we made last year. The UN Security Council resolution extended the mandate of African Union forces beyond Mogadishu and increased their numbers. Mauritius and the Seychelles have taken pirates for prosecutions, and 59 convicted pirates have been transferred to prisons in Somaliland and Puntland. And we're working together relentlessly to disrupt the travel and the financing of terrorists in the region. But the transformation in Somalia that we've seen has not happened just because 50 countries sat round a room and a table like this in London last year and somehow decided Somalia's future. This change has happened because of the vision of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud and his team, and because of the strength and courage of the Somali people in beginning the long and difficult task of rebuilding their country from the bottom up. But for all the progress that we've seen, huge challenges lie ahead. Somalia still faces desperate poverty. Over 200,000 children under 5 are acutely malnourished, and just under half of all Somalis live on less than $1 a day. Despite the gains made against al-Shabaab, the recent tragic and despicable attacks in Mogadishu, including one just last weekend, remind us how much work there's still to do in the fight against terrorism and extremism. Now, these challenges are not just issues for Somalia. They matter for Britain too, and for the whole international community. Why? Because when young minds are poisoned by radicalism and they go on to export terrorism and extremism, the security of the whole world, including people here in Britain, is at stake. And to anyone who says this isn't a priority or we can't afford to deal with it, I would say that is what we've done in the past, and look where it has got us: terrorism and mass migration. We made that mistake in the past, not just in the Horn of Africa, but also in Afghanistan in the 1990s. We must not make that mistake again. Today, nearly 2/3 of Somalis are under 25. But most young people don't join al-Shabaab because they believe in its perverted version of Islamist ideology. They do it because they are desperate for a few dollars and a mobile phone. So helping young Somalis to escape grinding poverty is not just vital for the future of Somalia, it's also the best antidote to the extremism that threatens us all. Somalis make a great contribution to our country here in the UK, and their remittances play a valuable role in Somalia. But many would like to return to rebuild their own country. We need to make it safe for them to do just that. Now let me turn to how I hope we can do that today. Supporting a new future for Somalia starts with the humanitarian relief that is so vital in alleviating some of the worst poverty anywhere on earth. I'm pleased that Britain is playing a leading role and saving lives and helping Somalis build resilience to future crises. And I hope others will follow. But Somalia's new future depends on more than humanitarian assistance. It's about the Somali government providing the security, the stability and services that are essential for people to secure jobs, to start new businesses, and to provide for their families. That means supporting what I've called the golden thread of development, the set of key conditions that are essential for growth all over the world. These encompass basic security for all, including the protection of women against sexual violence. That means a military that is effective and respects human rights. It means a police force that people run towards, not away from. And it means a justice system that is fair, dependent judges and lawyers. Britain will also support the new maritime strategy, enabling full radio connection all along the entire coastline for the first time in 20 years. I hope that others here today will contribute too, and that countries in the region stay the course and work with Somalia while it builds up its own forces. Second, we need to help Somalia develop a transparent and accountable government with an honest and accurate budget, so that it can access the vital finance it needs to deal with its debts and to provide services to her people. Under the previous government, Somalia struggled with endemic corruption. So I welcome the commitment to public accountability that the President has made and the plan he's setting out here at this conference. Tomorrow we'll see a major international trade and investment conference with companies from all over the world looking at Somalia as a place to do business. But for investment to flow and for jobs to be created, people need to know where their resources are going. The international community must send a strong signal to the international financial institutions about the need to follow the World Bank's lead and help Somalia to deal with its debts and to access the vital finance that it needs. And I will seek support for this from my G8 partners when we meet at Lough Erne in Northern Ireland next month. Third, we must support the new Somalian administration as it takes the next steps in delivering a fully federal government in which everyone has a stake and a voice. That means continuing the process of rebuilding the Somali state in an inclusive way with all the regions of Somalia around the table. It means reaching beyond Mogadishu so all parts of the country see a demonstrable benefit from the new government and moving towards the ultimate goal of national elections in 2016, which we discussed this morning. And while Somalia must focus relentlessly on fighting terrorism, it will not bring its people together through military might alone. So there will need to be an opportunity for those who are willing to reject violence and to turn away from al-Shabaab to join the political process. Mr. President, I know that you face one of the most difficult tasks of any leader anywhere in the world, but it's only by bringing the people of your country together and by delivering the security, stability and services essential for jobs and growth that you can deliver the new future for Somalia that is within your grasp. For our part, let me assure you, we as your friends and partners will stand with you as you rebuild your country. We know that Somalia's future will be shaped by Somalia and with Somalia. This is not something being done to Somalia. Today you're setting out your plans for your country. Our task is clear, to get behind you and your plans. That is what we will do. In her book entitled Keeping Hope Alive, Dr. Hawa Abdi, the physician and Nobel Peace Prize nominee, wrote about her time in the midst of Somalia's darkest hours. She said, "Hope is what remains as we wait for peace, even as we bleed and we starve. It may be that right now we are living for hope." Today, after 2 decades of bloodshed and some of the worst poverty on earth, hope is alive in Somalia. Now it's time to fulfill that hope for the people of Somalia. That is what they've been living for and waiting for, and we must not let them down. Thank you very much indeed.